My name is Paisley Hernandez. At 34, I've built a life I'm proud of as a marketing executive, a career I've cultivated with precision and ambition. From the outside, my world looks polished, but at its core lies a tangled web woven by my husband, Nathan. Lately, that web has been tightening, leaving me grasping for clarity amidst growing doubts. It began innocuously. Nathan, once a model of punctuality, started coming home late with stories of relentless work deadlines. In my line of work, I know the rhythms of corporate life, the whispers between the lines of truth and fiction. His alibis grew thinner with each telling, the threads of their credibility unraveling. Then came the phone calls, taken in hushed tones, cloaked in secrecy. When I questioned him, he would laugh it off or feign confusion, an unconvincing performance that only deepened my unease. The tipping point came one evening when I overheard fragments of a conversation. Susan. The plan? Paisley won't know. Susan, his sister, sharp-tongued and sharper-eyed, had always unsettled me. Her veiled disdain and cold smiles lingered like a shadow in every family interaction. Now, it seemed, her disdain might have turned into something far more dangerous. But fear is a cloak I refused to wear. I chose instead to prepare. While Nathan thought I was oblivious, I wore a mask of innocence. I let him believe his lies were convincing, but inside, I was unraveling his secrets, one thread at a time. My questions were casual but calculated. "Oh, I didn't know about that meeting. What's it about?" His responses only fueled my resolve to uncover the truth. Our history wasn't always shadowed by mistrust. When we met at a company mixer, his easy charm and humor were a counterpoint to my driven nature. Those early days were a whirlwind of laughter, late-night conversations, and shared dreams. But as my career soared, his stagnated, and resentment began to fester. The man who once supported me seemed to resent my success, his warmth replaced by a simmering anger that now felt like a stranger's touch. Then there was Susan. From the moment we met, she exuded a cool detachment, her pleasantries laced with condescension. When Nathan and I announced our engagement, her polite congratulations masked an unspoken disapproval. Our relationship, already complex, took a darker turn when she asked for a $6,000 loan under the guise of a family emergency. Her assumption that I'd hand over the money without conditions was almost laughable. I insisted on a promissory note, an act of practicality that seemed to wound her pride. Begrudgingly, she signed, her icy demeanor barely concealing her irritation. That encounter revealed the cracks in their relationship, an intricate dance of dependence and manipulation. It dawned on me that Nathan and Susan had their own set of rules, ones they bent to suit their needs. But I was no stranger to strategy. My corporate world had taught me to read between the lines, to anticipate moves before they were made. As the weeks passed, Nathan's behavior grew more erratic, his silences stretched like chasms, broken by bursts of inexplicable anger. Meanwhile, I found refuge in my work, immersing myself in projects where I still held control. Yet even there, the weight of his deceit followed me. I knew I was stepping into a dangerous game. Nathan and Susan believed they held the upper hand, weaving their plans in the shadows, but they underestimated me. I wasn't just reacting to their moves, I was plotting my own. Strategy wasn't just my profession, it was my weapon, and while they schemed, I was preparing to take back my narrative, piece by calculated piece. Life, I had learned, was a chessboard, where every move carried weight and sacrifices were often necessary to secure victory. Sometimes, you had to let a pawn go to capture the queen, or to protect yourself from the king. Sitting in my office, surrounded by the glittering cityscape, I felt the tension of the game tightening around me. The distant hum of traffic mirrored the unease in my mind. The pieces were in motion, and the critical juncture of this match was fast approaching. It all began to unravel on a Thursday evening. The day had promised a quiet close, a reprieve from the chaos, but instead delivered a revelation that shattered the fragile calm. Nathan's increasing absence had turned our home into a cold, hollow place. He was there physically, but his mind and heart had long since drifted away. That night, I discovered the betrayal that confirmed my worst fears. Logging into our joint account to handle a routine bill, I stumbled upon a transaction that felt like a punch to the gut. $99,000, gone. My hard-earned savings, meticulously built during my single years and reserved for the future I dreamed of, had vanished. I stared at the screen, each digit a mockery of the trust one had once placed in him. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a calculated theft, orchestrated by the man I had once believed was my partner. And if I knew Nathan, I knew Susan's fingerprints were somewhere on this, her influence like poison seeping into his decisions. The confrontation was as raw as it was inevitable. Nathan didn't even attempt to deny it. His defenses were scattered and insubstantial, his guilt flickering through his eyes before he tried to bury it under feigned indignation. He blamed stress, circumstances, anyone but himself. The excuses were a weak shield against the fury building inside me. It was clear, this wasn't an accident, it was a deliberate betrayal. That night, sleep eluded me. As I lay awake, my thoughts swirled in a storm of anger and clarity. The man I had trusted, shared my home and dreams with, had declared war, and if war was what he wanted, I would meet him on the battlefield, armed and unrelenting. The next morning, My path forward was clear. I made 2 calls. The first was to a divorce attorney renowned for her unyielding determination and sharp tactics. She didn't just handle separations, she dismantled opponents. The second was to a private investigator, someone who could uncover the layers of deceit that Nathan and Susan had so carefully constructed. Nathan and Susan had underestimated me, mistaking my silence for ignorance and my patience for passivity, but they were about to learn the truth. I was no pawn in their game. I was the queen, and I was ready to take back control of the board. I needed ammunition of my own. In the days that followed, my home transformed into a silent battleground, the tension thick with unsaid words and veiled threats. Nathan's late-night phone calls to Susan became more frequent, their whispers carrying the weight of a secret nearing its climax. Then, unexpectedly, I found an ally, Bo, Susan's husband. His call came out of nowhere, his voice a blend of frustration and bewilderment that mirrored my own. "Is Susan there?" he asked, his tone cautious but insistent. That single question cracked the dam of our shared grievances. Like me, he had noticed the shifts, Susan's secrecy, her unexplained demands for money. Piece by piece, we connected the dots. Our spouses weren't just siblings, they were collaborators in a web of deceit. Desperation and determination forged our alliance. If Nathan and Susan wanted to play games, Bo and I would show them how it was done. Betrayed but united, we set out to turn the tables on them. Nathan and Susan's conspiracy was clever, but their arrogance made them careless. They underestimated the resolve of the very people they sought to manipulate. As Bo and I sat across from each other in a dimly lit cafe, a plan began to take shape, one that would shift the balance of power. Bo's quiet demeanor masked years of enduring Susan's manipulation. His story mirrored mine, a relationship worn thin by lies and betrayals. Together, we discovered their next move, a lavish, romantic getaway, funded by money siphoned from both of us. The thought of them reveling in luxury at our expense was fuel for our plan. Our strategy was simple but bold: let them go on the trip, but cut them off at their peak. Stranded and penniless, they would be forced to confront their actions. To set the trap, I swapped Nathan's credit card with an expired gym membership card, slipping it back into his wallet unnoticed. Meanwhile, Bo worked to freeze their travel funds at the perfect moment. As the departure day loomed, I watched Nathan pack, feigning indifference. He was buzzing with excitement, oblivious to the storm brewing just beneath the surface. "You'll miss me, won't you?" he teased, grinning smugly. "Immensely," I replied, my voice heavy with sarcasm he was too self-absorbed to catch. The morning they left, I felt a peculiar mix of liberation and unease. Part of me yearned for confrontation, to unleash the torrent of words I'd kept bottled up. But the silence of our plan spoke louder than any argument could. The first crack in their perfect getaway came quickly. Bo and I stayed in close contact, exchanging updates like co-conspirators in a heist. Nathan's frantic call came within hours of their arrival. "The card's not working," he barked, his usual confidence slipping into panic. Feigning concern, I played my role. "That's odd. Maybe call the bank?" I suggested, relishing the frustration laced in his tone. As the days unfolded, their predicament worsened. Stranded without access to funds, Nathan and Susan's carefully crafted facade began to unravel. The desperation in Nathan's increasingly frequent calls was both satisfying and surreal. "You have to send money," he demanded, his voice tinged with both pleading and anger. "This isn't funny, Paisley." "I'm sorry, Nathan," I said calmly, "but there's nothing I can do." The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. For the first time in our marriage, he realized I wasn't bending to his will. Reports from Bo painted a similar picture on Susan's end. Her composed, manipulative exterior cracked under the weight of their situation, revealing the raw desperation beneath. Forced to rely on the kindness of strangers, the duo who had so confidently schemed against us was humbled in a way neither of us could have imagined. As their trip drew to a close, I prepared for what came next. I knew this was only the beginning of a larger battle, but for now, it felt like a victory. When Nathan walked through the door, the man who entered was a shadow of the one who had left. The arrogance was gone, replaced by quiet defeat. His eyes met mine, searching for the wife he thought he could control. "Paisley, he started, his voice faltering. I let him hang in the silence, the weight of his choices settling between us. This wasn't over, but for the first time in years, I held the upper hand. I cut him off, my voice unwavering. "Save it, Nathan. I know everything." The silence that followed was thick with the weight of unspoken truths and shattered illusions. In that moment, it became clear that this wasn't just a victory, it was a liberation. The game was over, and I wasn't just walking away unscathed. I was stronger, freed from a life that had long ceased to be mine. The aftermath of Nathan and Susan's disastrous trip marked the beginning of a reckoning. The house, once filled with laughter and the warmth of love, now echoed with the cold, harsh truths of betrayal and deception. Nathan's return set off a cascade of confrontations, each more charged than the last. What had once been shared dreams and plans for a future now felt like battlegrounds, where words were weapons. But beneath the anger, beneath the hurt, there was something else, a deep, undeniable sense of freedom. I began meeting with the divorce attorney regularly. Each session became a step toward releasing myself from the toxic grip of my marriage. The attorney, a woman whose sharp intellect and fierce determination were a comfort, guided me through the maze of legalities with steady hands. Meanwhile, Beau had filed for divorce from Susan. What had started as an alliance born out of shared betrayal blossomed into a deep, mutual respect. We found solace in each other's company, two people navigating the wreckage of our relationships, healing side by side. As the divorce proceedings unfolded, the full extent of Nathan and Susan's duplicity was laid bare. Financial records, bank statements, and reports from a private investigator painted a damning portrait of their betrayal. The truth was hard to swallow, but it only strengthened my resolve to see this through. When the divorce was finalized, I felt a complex blend of emotions, relief, sadness, but above all, closure. I had walked into the courtroom as Nathan's wife, but I walked out as Paisley Hernandez, independent, strong, and free. In the weeks that followed, I poured myself into my work, channeling all the energy I had once given to a failing marriage into something I could control. It didn't go unnoticed. Soon, I was offered a promotion, a recognition of my hard work and resilience. Life after the divorce became a journey of rediscovery. The world, once viewed through the narrow lens of my marriage to Nathan, now opened up with endless possibilities. I found joy in the small, quiet moments, a book in hand, coffee with Beau, who had become more than a friend, a constant support, a source of strength. One evening, as I stood on my balcony watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple, I realized that this wasn't the end of my story. It was only the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where I was the author, and the possibilities ahead were limitless. The end of my marriage had closed a tumultuous chapter in my life, but as with all endings, it had given birth to something new. The world, once constricted by the boundaries of a strained relationship, now stretched out before me, full of potential. In the months that followed, I shed the remnants of the past, letting go of a version of myself that no longer fit. My promotion at work wasn't just a career milestone, it was a symbol of my strength, a testament to the resilience I had forged through adversity. Beau, too, embarked on his own journey of self-discovery. Our shared experiences formed a bond that was both unexpected and profound. Our coffee meetings became a sanctuary, a space where we could laugh, cry, and heal together. There was comfort in his presence, a quiet understanding that went deeper than words. As we navigated this new phase of life, our friendship deepened. What began as camaraderie rooted in mutual loss gradually shifted into something more. We no longer just shared pain, we shared joy. Beau was no longer just a friend, he had become a confidant, a partner in every sense of the word. One evening, as we walked along the riverside, the city lights flickering on the water like stars, Beau stopped and turned to me, his face filled with a mixture of nervousness and sincerity. "Paisley," he said softly, his voice filled with emotion, "these months with you have been a journey I never expected, but I'm grateful for it every day. You've become so much more than a friend to me." His words mirrored my own unspoken feelings, feelings I had kept carefully tucked away. "Beau," I replied, my hand finding his, "I feel the same. You've been my rock, my laughter in the darkness. I can't imagine my life without you." In that moment, standing together by the water, everything else faded away. The world blurred, and all that mattered was us, two souls who had found healing and strength in one another. Life, I had come to realize, was a journey of unexpected twists, a tapestry woven from joy, pain, love, and loss. It was these threads that gave it depth and color, turning it into a masterpiece of experience. As I looked ahead, the future unfolded with promise. A future where I was no longer defined by my past, but by the choices I made and the woman I had become. The road ahead was unknown, but I was ready to face whatever it held, with Beau by my side.